Okay, guys, welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and I'm joined by
Rob.
And we are here talking WrestleMania, but not just WrestleMania the show. It's WrestleMania the logo history. We've got 40 WrestleMania logos to go through. We're going to try and speed through them, guys. Hopefully not a long one here. And the idea is just to kind of crown who we think, which WrestleMania had the best logo, basically. And some things you've got to keep in mind is the design elements of the time and the kind of things like that. But also the... if it fits to the city it was in, or the WrestleMania, that if it had a theme or something like that, we've got to keep that in mind as well. And we'll just kind of just roughly talk about it and figure out what we think is our favorite WrestleMania design. Overall, Rob, WrestleMania logo, what kind of logos do you like for WrestleMania? I like the classic big W, big M.
Yeah. I don't like too much going on in the background of it. So let's say just take the pirate one, for example, from a couple of years back.
Yeah.
I know the idea was the pirate and that set the scene and all that sort of thing, but I just think a clear WrestleMania with with numbers, or Roman numerals.
I like the Roman numerals. Yeah,
they're my favorite.
Yeah, me too. Let's start though. Let's go with the first logo called WrestleMania. WrestleMania 1 we'd know it as now, but just WrestleMania at the time. 1984, starting off big with a beautiful logo that is very, 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 very of its time. Don't get me wrong. The silver and gold, it's just classic. I mean, growing up, I loved logos like this. Yeah. I think it's amazing. I love the style, the way the S curves into, and then we'll talk about it here because, of course, this logo gets repeated quite a bit throughout history. But I like the S, which they move away from later on, curling into the R, the line from the W, the lines on the M, the WWF logo on top. Beautiful logo.
I think when it comes to logos, this is probably up there with the best they've done.
Yeah.
And especially, as you said, it's 80s. When we had the old WWF logo and you had the same kind of color.
Yeah, the block kind of exactly that.
That's like prime.
It
WWF,
fit really well.
Look for me. So I think this is up there.
And the thing is, and we'll see it later on, they move away from some of these design elements, but keep most of it the same. And that's what I do appreciate about this version of the logo. It can be adapted. But anyway, speaking of which, number 2, what did I add? Just a big old 2 behind it. Now, this 2... probably not the kind of font you'd be using these days, but it really works. It's that kind of neon style of the 1980s. I think, not bad. It's before we got to the Roman numerals. I think at this time, I'm shocked they didn't go for Roman numerals straight away. I think it looked pretty cool, but they do that with the next one, of course. But number 2, you know what? I wouldn't choose to design it like this with a big old 2 in the background, but if it was a different font, it probably wouldn't work that well, that 2. So it's quite subtle, but I like it.
I think I would have been critical on that because the 2 placing does look like it's just got a hook.
Yeah.
I know it's a 2, but it's too lost.
Okay, I like that because it kind of blends in. It hoops around the WWF logo.
Maybe they made the 2 bigger, so it was like a bigger number, like just to stand out that it's the second one. But other than that, I don't mind the neon kind of effect of the font. I just think the 2 gets lost in where the M is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That means they kind of curve into.
So it takes away from what's going on.
Yeah. Gotcha. Right. WrestleMania 3. They've gone back to the original design, but this time they've got Roman numerals. They're one of the most popular, famous, whatever you want to call it, WrestleManias of all time. Iconic. Great. Roman numerals. Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the main text being silver, other than the W and M being gold, having the Roman numerals in gold fits quite well.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I think the W and M and the Roman numerals being the things that are in gold, everything else being in a different kind of shade and color, I think really makes WM, so WrestleMania, and then the number of it stand out. So it makes certain bits pop, which are good for the eye.
Now, when we're looking at these Roman numerals, and we're going to get a great example of it later on, the same logo can look very different just with different Roman numerals. I don't think it looks as good with 4, but hey, I'm not complaining.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I like a 4. I like a Roman numeral 4. But I don't know. It doesn't look as good. I think because 4 is a nice, IV. I feel like that could have been underneath or in the background or something like that. It's all right. It's not terrible, but yeah. Anyway,
I like it as the IV as the 4 like that. I don't like it with the V.
Yeah.
When we get to 5, I don't like the V at the bottom.
Let's move into 5 then. The V at the bottom, I think, looks awful. It should have been either next to it, like the first, number 3 and 4 were, or like the 2, just a big V over in the background. I think it would have been pretty good as well. Moving on to WrestleMania 6, they've gone back to basically as a reverse of WrestleMania 4 as far as the Roman numerals are concerned. Not much to say there.
No, as you said, it's exactly the same. And I think when that V's there and the V comes, the one IV and the VI, for some reason, I think they just look so well done together.
Okay.
Even on things like pocket watches and all that, it looks perfection.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that is one of my favorites.
Let's move on then, because at this point they are quite similar. They now really first big design change, I think, as far as the actual WrestleMania text. It goes curvy. And this is, of course, WrestleMania 7. The Roman numerals don't work as well here, but I think it works really well on WrestleMania 8. It looks the same sort of logo, but just because of the convenience of what you're dealing with as far as Roman numerals go and how it fits into your design, I think WrestleMania 8 actually looks better than 7.
It's got a Back to the Future-esque.
It does, yeah. Bold of them, like, to kind of curve it as well. They do some similar ones later on in the more recent era, but... I like it because it's different. Because at this stage, they would have just started to look really bland if they didn't change it up. So,
yeah. I mean, I appreciate the change, but I think it's so drastic. I mean, from 6 to 7 is drastic, and then by the time we got to 8, we're used to what 7 looked like. But that first initial change, didn't look right. The next one,
yeah. They don't look good next to each other.
No.
Yeah. So on its own, though, like, not bad, I don't think. Right now, talking about a complete change, they've gone back for the straight line, and we've got WrestleMania 9. Of course, this is the one that was at Caesar's Palace. It was Caesar's Palace, wasn't it? Something like that. And it was all kind of Roman themed and stuff like that. You know, you had Heenan on the camel. You had all these kind of people dressed up and stuff like that. Cool WrestleMania because it stands out so much the way things looked, and I like that this fits in with that. You know exactly what WrestleMania is, even if you don't know which WrestleMania had that theme. You can see this and go, "This is from that WrestleMania." For what it is, it works. I'm not sure if it's the first time they've gone for like a theme, but they've still kept very close to the original WrestleMania logo with the Roman numerals. So I'm not sure if that works that well with it, but it's a decent effort.
It's strange, isn't it? You know, like when you get when a football team changes their logo slightly, or they go, "Oh, we're going to add something fancy," and they've not really done. It's just a scribble, but they think, "Oh, well, that makes a difference." Yeah, that's kind of what they've done with this. They've put like a little whatever it is around it, like what would you even call that? Like in the background, it looks like a.
They got a reef. It's a reef.
A reef. Yeah, and it just it gets lost in.
It could have come around the logo, I think. That would have been quite nice. Let's move on to WrestleMania 10, another big change. Now they've got a big X, but they've got lines on the top of the X's as well. And also, WrestleMania's gone in a squiggly clip art kind of... I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that at all. I like the X. Straight X. And if it was straight within it, like, it would have been perfect because it's a symmetrical design. You don't need to
straight X with straight writing.
Exactly.
It would have been perfect.
It would have been really nice. Missed opportunity there. But other than that, it's a very nostalgic one for me. You think of MSG, you think of the kind of what is this, like a dark bluey, almost purplish color with it as well. I really do like that aspect of it. Just not sure about the squiggly WrestleMania, but a decent effort if it wasn't for that. Moving on to WrestleMania 11, this is a really strange one because they've gone for the purple design, usually in the backgrounds and stuff like that, and just black text, but gone to the original logo again, straightened it up, but kind of put it at a bit of a skew, and with a very skewed kind of Roman numeral underneath for 11 as well. The WWF logo's gone to a corner, which I kind of turned a little bit, which they started doing at this time, which I quite liked actually, especially when it was in the background of that blue thing they used to have as well. I don't hate it, but I don't like the skewed. A good way to start. I don't like the skewed aspect, but I do like the rest of it.
It does look like you're looking down at it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, But other than that, I don't understand the background. Like, why was it the purpley, and it just looked busy again. Now
moving on, we've got the 20th Century Fox logo. I mean the WrestleMania 12 logo. Look, if it's a parody on that, which I don't think it was, because it wasn't like in Hollywood or anything like that, as far as I recall. So first Hollywood themed one, of course, is 21. So this strange, like if it has that theme, great. at an angle, it looks like the end of that little video for the 20th Century Fox, but like not as a straight up logo. It should be flat. It shouldn't be at the side. I like it, but I like it if it was part of a video or something like that. But anyway, not bad. Just don't really understand why they've done it.
Yeah, it feels like if they had like a WWF Productions film company, that would have been the look for what they were going with.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
as an animation.
Okay.
I think it is one of the worst.
Oh, wow.
It is horrendous.
Okay, really not a fan. Let's move on to WrestleMania 13. I remember watching back in the day, there's adverts for the VHS collections, and it was Doc Hendricks, Michael Hayes, and he was like, the year of the Taker. I think it was him anyway, but I remember them being like, the year of the Taker. So every time I hear WrestleMania 13, I just hear someone going, the year of the Taker, because Undertaker wins the title that year. 13, of course, spooky number for the Undertaker. They've got fire here. It's not the greatest design these days, but for the early 90s, I think it works quite well. It's very radical, moving away from that previous style. So I'm kind of there for it because it's kind of moving into not quite the Attitude Era yet, but they're willing to move from tradition. And for that, I appreciate what they've done. This kind of reminds me of the Die Hard logo when you'd see it with a fire in the background as well.
Yeah.
So, it's sure.
That one always reminds me of Austin. 13.
Oh yeah, because of the double turn. Yeah.
So every time I see that, I only ever think of Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And that's against Bret Hart, right?
Yeah, Bret Hart. Yeah.
So and what an iconic moment in wrestling history.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't look pretty, but I think it gives me more fond memories than the others have.
Okay, cool.
So for that, it's all right.
A few points for that. Right, let's move into WrestleMania 14. We're really getting into the Attitude Era now. It's on its way, at least. Of course, the one with Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin with Mike Tyson involved. Now, this is another one where they've gone at an angle, Rob. I like the red color of it. They've gone really different with it here. But it does look a bit busy. It looks like if it was spinning in an animation, cool. But as a logo, not too sure.
No, that is booty.
Not a fan.
I don't like it.
Okay, now with the next one, they've gone for the flat look, which I think is much better. They've gone for WrestleMania, but now they've kept, they did it in the previous year, to be fair. Wrestle on top, Mania on the bottom. And they've gone for the Roman numerals again. Now we've got them in the background with XV. WrestleMania 15, of course, we're talking about Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Nice. Now we've moved on to the scratch logo as well. The WWF logo would be, of course. I think it's a nice flat logo. I think overall, I prefer WrestleMania to be one word, like in one line, but this is a nice logo.
See, I disagree. I don't mind if it's in half as of Wrestle and in Mania, fine. I don't mind it, but I don't like the background behind it.
I don't mind it. It keeps it all
takes away
together.
from it. I think
Keeps
it
it all
takes it
together.
away.
Okay.
So I think if you had the WrestleMania and then the numbers around it as the background behind it, I think that would have been a lot clearer. But I do like the start of the scratch.
Okay, we've got the scratch logo. Now we're moving really away from tradition here, Rob. We've got WrestleMania 2000. Now they've gone crazy. This is so 2000, or like at least late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. First of all, the 2000 being a cyber kind of font. We've got green. Number two, they're not calling it by its Roman numerals or its actual, number or anything like that. This is not WrestleMania 16. This is WrestleMania 2000. We go for a strange trend going on from here as well, which we're about to get to. WrestleMania 2000. The font, again, very kind of cyberish, completely moved away from the traditional WrestleMania font. The WWF logo, even though it's got an F on it, the W's are standing in for the W of WrestleMania. Very kind of tacky and of its time, but at the time, I think I liked it. And I think it's okay. Overall, it's very different. I guess a lot of this is going to be nostalgia-based, but I don't think I'd be happy with this today. But at the time, it is what it is. It's very 2000.
The thing is, I look at this and I think this is based around Triple H with the green, look
yeah,
and all that. And at this point as well, in actual wrestling, we've got the McMahon Helmsley era. Obviously, Triple H is at the point. We just at this point as well, we would have had the iconic Royal Rumble match with Mick Foley versus Cactus Jack. So to me, all this stuff is kind of pushing towards he's the new guy.
This is the Triple H WrestleMania.
It's a little nod to him, but at the same time, obviously, expand on the company and the way they're doing things. But this is like a new generation.
Cool. Right. Let's move in to WrestleMania 17. Arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Certainly my favorite.
Yeah.
Because of that, love the logo. They've gone back to the classic style of WrestleMania. Now they've gone back to classic, but they've not done the E and S. So the R and S between the E connecting anymore. But I like how it's all together. Again, scratch logo, and we've now called this one, guys, Brandon X7. Spelled out as 7, S-E-V-E-N. Obviously 17. But yeah, they didn't want to go back to just straight up saying 17. They decided to go somewhere in the middle and call it X7. I really like this. The blue, the yellow. I feel like, especially because at this time, I felt like the colors of WrestleMania should be blue and yellow. We have a similar one in the year after this, but man, or like goldy yellow at least, you know. I really like this. Maybe it's just great memories, but I think it's a perfect modern at the time adaptation of the original WrestleMania logo.
So this is one of my favorites. However, they should have had the Roman numerals for the number and not the X7. I just don't. I think it's lazy when you've done Roman numerals for everything else, and if it's a prestigious thing.
Yeah, but it's not anymore. They've moved away from their 2000 last year.
I think the jump from the 2000 to this one is so drastic that you could have done it with the Roman numerals and it would have been.
But again, it's very of its time to be like X7.
guess,
you know, Limp Bizkit had a Z, you know, like that kind of thing. Or a Z. But yeah, like it's kind of very of its time. But yeah, I like it as well. But still quite classic and classy looking. Right, moving into the next year, pretty much the same, but they changed up the colors a little bit. Darker version here, WrestleMania X8. This time they've actually done the figure of 8 rather than just spell out EIGHT. And it jumps out of that little box that X7 was built for. I really like this one as well. Fond memories of this one.
Are you looking around for?
Here we go. The old GameCube.
So we got up and close.
WrestleMania X8. Now this version of it is kind of like we said earlier on with the WrestleMania 11, I think it was, where it's slanted. But that's just for this game.
But the thing is, I prefer it like that than I do to what they've got on there.
Really?
Yeah, because it is making it come out like it's, as you can see from our glamorous assistant, like it looks. I think that looks nicer with that little slant. Than when you look at it and the way it is. I think that slant just gives it more depth.
Seeing Hogan on the cover reminds me, of course, what I'm wearing. This was the black and white NWO, but of course, the first time we see any version of the New World Order. Let's do a little too sweet.
Doink.
I don't know if that was even caught on camera, but there we go. On a WWE show, you know, of course, they've been there before, but this is the first time we see them as the NWO, so that's pretty cool. Let's move into the next year. Pretty much, again, the same sort of logo. Now they've gone straight up Roman numerals. They thought, you know what? We're a bit more serious now, Roman numerals.
Why weren't they serious 2 years ago?
Well, it's experimenting time. Hold on. What do you know? Another GameCube game of WrestleMania 19. This one's gone blue and kind of grey silver. Moved away from the yellow here, which I'm a yellowy gold, which I'm a big fan of. But I like this as well. Quite a subtle version of that same logo. And the Roman numerals fit quite well inside the little box.
The Roman numerals there look perfect.
Yeah, you think?
I think it's that, because you've got the over-the-top word of WrestleMania. It's a big elaborate. It's the big thing. Then the numbers underneath it, it's like little touches like that to me that really make it just stand out more. I think it's perfect.
All right, let's move on to WrestleMania 20. This time we've got the 2 X's underneath, and we've got a kind of a weird background going on. They've gone back to the WrestleMania logo. Well, they've kept the original, you know, what they've been using, actually, I should say. Curves it a little bit more. Again, another one for nostalgia. I'm not sure if it's one of my favorite logos, though.
This looks like it should be a sticker.
Okay, yeah, it's a sticker.
I don't like it. I struggle for a little while now with these because it's more... It's made to look more like a shield or like a logo kind of badge kind of type thing. And it's like the sort of thing that it looks perfect on like a polo t-shirt because you're a part of the company or part of the crew. But it doesn't look like
that's a good point. Yeah. Backstage staff or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't look like it should be a show kind of look.
Cool. Right. Let's move on to WrestleMania 21. Now they've kind of curved. All right, this is WrestleMania goes Hollywood. So for me, this is massively disappointing that it's not Hollywood themed. Of course, we're going to get to another one later on like that. I really don't like the 21. It's too big. It's a weird font. They've moved away from Roman numerals.
Again.
Not really a fan. I think it's in a time where not everyone knows Roman numerals. I probably know them because of wrestling, to be fair.
Probably.
But yeah, I'm not as much of a fan of this one.
Yeah, again, it's that era where I do struggle because they all look like they should just be stickers. Like it looks great as a company logo.
Yeah.
Not a show logo.
Yeah. Right, let's move into WrestleMania 22. This now they've kind of arched up the WrestleMania logo. Yeah, the 22 looks better because it's smaller. Still not a massive fan of this one. I don't like the shape.
No, do you know what? This gives me, like Evolution vibes. You know where the
Evolution
had, like, the V in the middle. And it gives me that sort of vibe of the way it looks. That's it. Other than that, I'm not a huge fan of it. It doesn't look the nicest.
Okay, moving on to WrestleMania 23. I don't like that they moved away from the WrestleMania logo, generally speaking, the main kind of font. But what I do like is it's car themed. Now, obviously, SummerSlam in Detroit has also come out with a car themed logo because of its history in the motor car industry. I really like this. It's not a WrestleMania I'm a big fan of. But I do like that they put the flavour in of where it was. I think it works quite well. It's not as traditional, I like traditional, but the fact it looks like a car bonnet, basically, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not.
I mean, it's like a classy looking design for a car.
For a car,
yeah,
it looks lovely.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd buy that. I could roll around in that car. That'd look great in the bonnet. But
okay.
Other than that, it's awful. I just think if you're doing something with WrestleMania and it's traditional, that doesn't scream grandest stage of them all.
Okay, fair enough. Right, let's move into the next one. Again, sticking with the theme now. They've gone for the Sunshine State of Florida. And yeah, I'm not a fan of this one either.
No, it doesn't look good, does it?
Nah, it's too much going on.
Yeah, take away the sun, it's great. But
some of these look better as logos on their own. On posters, not so bad either. But yeah. Anyway, then we move into WrestleMania 25.
You have a problem with this, right?
Oh, the 25th anniversary. What a joke. Now, look, I was fortunate enough to be there. Enjoyed some great moments there, and it's nostalgic for that reason. There's some great moments on the show, some not so great moments on the show, but the logo is awful. I like the star because it's Texas and we see a similar one later on, but what I don't like, and I like the WrestleMania logo, slightly curved, a more updated version of it. It should have just said 25. It's not the 25th anniversary. It is WrestleMania 25, The
25th anniversary would be the following
the next year, because the anniversary of the first one.
Yeah. I know, that's your big peeve, isn't it?
Yeah, it's annoying. But, we're not the only ones out there who hate that. So, yeah. What about you as far as the logo goes?
I really like the star. I love the fact that the WrestleMania bit is the peak of the star.
Yeah.
The way it sits down and sort of that design, perfect.
Yeah.
But, again, the 25th anniversary thing just takes it away from me.
Yeah. Let's move into 26. I'm not a fan of the colours.
I feel like I'm about to watch a slot machine.
Okay, yeah. It's not even themed on that. This is Arizona, I think it is. I guess those kind of colours for the desert and things like that. But yeah, kind of a classic looking logo, not executed that well as far as the colours go, in my opinion. Let's move on to the next one because I really like the colours of the next one because it's gone to that classic kind of yellow and blue vibe, which is WrestleMania 27. This is the one where The Rock comes back. The Miz is in the main event against John Cena, of course. I like this one because it felt classic. This is the one that everyone thought was going to be somewhat a WCW themed WrestleMania in some way because like Hall of Fame entrance, maybe a one night stand for WCW because it was going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. In the South where WCW were mainly based, and it didn't end up being that way, but even the logo feels quite classic to me, so yeah, I quite like it.
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst.
I'll leave it there. I'm still not a big fan of it.
Okay.
Again, it looks badgy.
A lot of these ones in this period as well, the scratch logo is starting to look real dated.
Yeah.
So
everything else is starting to look
clean and
that scratch thing, so it just makes it look ugly.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. They've gone for that kind of curve one that we saw earlier on with WrestleMania 7 and 8. It's kind of a similar one to that, but more updated color palette. I don't really like these colors as much as more of like a blue and an orange and stuff like that. I do think, again, they're using the classic logo, so I'm fine with that, and they've kind of made something out of it. It's not the worst design, but again, it's not one of my favorites.
So I'm the opposite. I think this is one of my favourites.
Wow,
This is
okay.
a throwback to like the 80s.
Yeah.
kind of-
What works better than the ones we said earlier on that curve? It's got those bits above and below it, to kind of balance it out.
Balances it out and makes it fuller. Now, if they'd have done exactly the same thing there with 7 and 8, then it would be.
But I guess they didn't have as many design things they
No,
could use in the background. It's harder to
little
kind of
things like
replicate
that.
and stuff. Yeah,
Big difference.
definitely. Right, now moving on to 2013's WrestleMania. Again, another one I was privileged enough to be there for, but I got to say, doesn't hold up as far as its logo for me. I like the idea, the Empire State Building in the background, New York, New Jersey, mentioned underneath as well. And, all the set was Statue of Liberty and stuff like that. I like the theme. I just think it looks so weird how far back. It's too stretched. It's too out of corner. Yeah. It should have been a bit more kind of opened. Yeah. So I don't like that.
The theme itself is good.
Yeah.
The way they wanted to do it and the idea was good, but the way they've delivered it is so bad. I do not like it. The execution.
It's too, and it stands out between all of them as well. Sometimes we've got too much going on. This is so thin. It's weird and tall, and I guess like a skyscraper, but still not great. Yeah. Now, talking of theme, we move into the New Orleans. We've got a lovely retro-looking WrestleMania logo with the amazing, the 3 X's for 30 for. Of course, Roman numerals back. What a way to do it as well for WrestleMania 30. And just the kind of purple, the New Orleans vibe. Love it.
Yeah, that's up there. I like that one because you've got what's going on with WrestleMania in the middle. You've got the stuff going up on the top, looks nice and clean. And underneath with the 30, it blends in. It's the same color palette. It matches. That looks complete to me. That's one of the best logos.
One of those that fit the location and it still makes sense, as branding. So that's great. Moving into the next one that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't understand the play button, but I do like this logo. I'm not usually a fan of how it curves above and below, but I do like it. It's a nice plain logo. It reminds me of a great WrestleMania 31, of course. But at the same time, I don't understand the play logo. Even though it looks nice, I just don't understand it.
Everything about it is great. But as you said, the play logo thing, they could have put the number 31 in there. I feel like they lost out on a chance to.
Yeah, what was the play thing? Like there was a Terminator theme. Is it because it's a film or the modern age with like social media and YouTube
but they missed out on putting the numerals in again, and I think that was lost because they brought it back. They're starting to talk about that sort of stuff.
Well, they weren't naming it for like as in numbers for a while, were they? So especially not on logos, but we'll get some more of that as we go on. So no Roman numerals here after doing the biggest one so far. Well, I guess that's always the biggest one because each year it goes up. Anyway, 32. I really like the colors here. They've changed the logo up in a way that I wouldn't be a fan of if I picked that compared to another one, the stretching of the text. But it's something about the blue and the red I really like.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is Dallas as well, right? This is a star, as we mentioned earlier on. I like this one.
I think it's clean, and especially how they've done it before when they've done the WrestleMania within the points for the star.
Yeah.
Now putting the star at the bottom and making that like WrestleMania being the focus and then the star at the bottom. I think, again, the only thing they could have done, they could have made the star a little bigger, put the number of the WrestleMania in.
Yeah.
Little things like that. But as a whole, even if they didn't do that, that is real
fairly solid, yeah. Next up, we've got WrestleMania 33. Again, we've got a bit of a sun theme going on here.
I hate it.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's too much jaggedy bits and squishing of the logo and too much going on. All right, done. Let's move on. WrestleMania 34, they're back in New Orleans and they've gone for, well, what can you do? You can't do the same thing again. Similar enough, but different. This time they've gone for a green. I'm not as high on the green with the purple. I think the purple probably looks better on the other one. But I think the kind of fleur-de-lis kind of, New Orleans vibe and all that kind of stuff like that works really well on this. I actually really like it. The colors I'm not 100% sure on. I think the other one looks better color-wise, but design-wise, I think this one might be a little bit nicer in some ways. I'd like to see a color swap between these two.
Maybe a color swap would do it, but I feel like I'm looking at a jester's hat.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, okay. That's a negative.
I can't look past that.
Yeah. Okay.
But the yellow the word WrestleMania in yellow, lovely. I love it like that.
Okay, cool. Moving on to colours that I do like together, the red and the black, but what I'm not too much of a fan of is the Statue of Liberty's crown. I guess that's what we're looking at there with the yellowy gold going on. Again, another one I was happy to be at. I think New York have kind of been shafted here, really. They haven't had the best logos when they've gone to New York, have they? But which is quite strange. There's a lot they can do with it, but it's just not one of my favourites. I like some elements of it, but yeah, I like the idea. not so much the execution.
Yeah, I just don't like the black and the writing. With the writing, like the font being black, and then you're having the red and then the yellow behind. I just feel like there's no depth. So there's not a break between everything.
Yeah, it kind of gets lost.
In yellow.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, or give it like a yellow outline or something like that. Just make it pop more, because I think it gets lost in the graphic.
All right, let's move on to the strangest WrestleMania of all time. The one, of course, that was behind closed doors. This is WrestleMania 36. Now, this should have been in Tampa Bay, of course, and they went for, I guess, the Buccaneers theme, you know, with the pirates and stuff like that, and it was kind of like a dead pirate, skulls and stuff like that, and we picked that up next year because, of course, why would you not want to pick up on that branding that you paid all that money for, and that theme? It made sense. They kept it, even though it went to the Performance Center. I actually really like this one. I think it's quite well balanced. It's a nice way kind of to curve the logo in the kind of scroll rather than just curving it for curving's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer it like that than I do with the skull.
Okay, we'll get
the next one.
Yeah.
But I still think it looks lost. Like, I like the idea of it, but they didn't.
I love the WWE flag. I think it's fantastic.
Maybe if we didn't have the black background behind it so I could see it more clearer.
Pop a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, it may pop more, but it's not one of my favourites.
Okay, moving on to the next year, of course, they had to kind of redo what they'd already done, and I think they'd done such a good job to have a similar enough logo and get the best out of it, that this time, like, just the same theme, but it's not the same logo. Same as what they did with New Orleans. I think this is really well what they've managed to do here. Now we've got the pirate skull in the middle, two swords to make it even, with different kind of banner / scroll here, and yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, I think this is one of the cleaner ones, actually.
Okay.
I do like it. And the fact that the text kind of goes around.
I guess it's symmetrical as well. The whole logo is symmetrical as well. So.
And a question for you. Do you know why pirates are called pirates?
Why?
Because they are.
With that one, let's move into WrestleMania 38. There's another big old star. Again, this one's in Texas again. So I understand why. It's not the same sort of font, but it's similar enough that I like it and give it a pass. I like the colours of just being blue and white. I'm always in two minds about this logo. What about you?
It's all right. I get the star.
Yeah.
And you know, the representation of it, but I just don't. I'm not sure about the blue and white. I just feel like that doesn't shine as Texas. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Like I don't know. I think it's lacking something. Now, this would be the sort of thing that needs a background of something else.
Yeah. All right, let's move into WrestleMania 39. And I've got to say, one of the best logos to me. Literally Hollywood underneath in the kind of old school Art Deco font. It's kind of, again, kind of curved the logo a little bit to make it fit into this kind of, I think it's a film reel, I assume. WWE logo on top, gold, white, sometimes using black as well. It's just a fantastic logo. It fits on every front. I think it's beautiful.
That's my favorite.
Your favorite?
That's my favorite.
Wow.
Like, it's nice and clean. The way the M transitions from the peaks and goes round. The color thing, as you said, it looks like film reels. I'm assuming. It just looks nice and clean. It flows nicely. The word Hollywood that's at the bottom of it looks lovely. I mean, you could take the word Hollywood out and put the Roman numerals in, and I think it would still look lovely. So, like, you know, the thing is replaceable in that sort of aspect. Yeah. And I think it's great.
All right, now we're moving on to WrestleMania 40. And here they've gone, I think you're not going to like this one because it's gone for some of those elements that you don't quite like. But it's gone for the classic logo, bent it a little bit more. And we've got XL, which I know a lot of people are going to think just means extra large. But, of course, it's the Roman numerals for 40. And what I really like about it, again, it's got that local flavour. In the background, we've got the Liberty Bell because, of course, it's going to be in Philadelphia. Quick note about the Liberty Bell, mate. First of all, I've seen it. How about that? Second of all, it was actually cast in Whitechapel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there we go. But anyway, moving it all the way back to Philadelphia rather than Whitechapel. It is, for me, I like the style of it. I got a feeling that you won't.
I don't mind it. My only criticism, and obviously I know it's a part, I guess it's a part on the top of the bill.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got the newer version of the WWE logo, which is more pleasing, it's more up to date, not scratched. But I don't like the square bit at the top with the WWE
Yeah. I think it could be better, that.
I think if you just took that off and had the bell there with a WWE.
Yeah.
I think that would be so much cleaner. It's
Yeah.
just a little bit.
That's probably a good point, actually.
That's it. Other than that, that.
I like how they put the XL on either side of the crack on the bell as well. I think it works quite well. The colours are quite nice as well. I think they're quite similar to the Philadelphia Eagles as well. So with that kind of light, kind of greenish kind of colour going on as well. But there we go, guys. Those are the WrestleMania logos of WrestleMania 1 all the way up to WrestleMania 40. Overall, I think favourites are kind of the really early ones. The 17, 18 kind of era, 19. And then also in the modern era, I'd say the Hollywood logo is probably the best one, right?
There's a plethora of good ones.
There's a plethora of good ones. A few bad ones, but a lot of good ones. So we're happy with that. Anyway, let us know in the comments below what you think is the best WrestleMania logo. Do you agree with what we said? Do you disagree with some of the things we said? Are there logos here that we dissed that you think are actually your favourite? Or is it the other way around, ones that we thought were great, you don't actually quite like? So let us know in the comments down below. And I thank you very much for joining us here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Please subscribe if you want to see more wrestling content from myself and from
I'm Rob.
Rob over here. And we'll see you on the next one.